Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The nervous fingers glided over the sleek teal gown, a gentle touch amidst the storm of agitation stirring within. Breaths came in shallow gasps, as if the very act of respiration was a challenge. "Oh, how absurd do I look!" the figure exclaimed, their voice a trembling melody, betraying their unease. But Rebecca, standing at the door, her posture confident and arms folded, only grinned. "Nonsense! You look breathtaking. I knew this would be a remarkable sight." "I haven't even stepped outside." The voice trailed off, and the figure, clearly male, Graham, turned to observe his unfamiliar silhouette in the mirror. The dress had transformed his physique, granting him curves he'd never imagined belonging to. The padding Rebecca had insisted on helped create the illusion of a feminine figure, but it was the makeup that transformed his face entirely. Softened jawline, accentuated cheekbones, and eyes that suddenly seemed enormous. "Trust me, you're going to pass. Nobody will recognize you as my awkward brother." Rebecca stepped forward, adjusting the turquoise necklace that matched the dangling earrings. "Remember, your name is Rosalina tonight, my beautiful, confident sister who was traveling abroad during high school." Graham, no, Rosalina for tonight, rolled her eyes. "This is the last time I let you talk me into anything when we're drinking wine." "A bet's a bet. You said there was no way you could pass as a woman, and I said with my help you absolutely could." Rebecca handed over the small black clutch purse. "Besides, what better place to test this than my high school reunion? Nobody there has seen me in years, let alone met my sister." The black, strappy heels added another 3 inches to Rosalina's already tall frame, making her legs seem to go on forever. Auburn hair, a wig Rebecca had spent an hour securing and styling into loose waves, framed her face perfectly. What if someone recognizes me? Anxiety fluttered in Rosalina's stomach. "Nobody will. You were practically a hermit in high school, remember? Always in the computer lab while I was at cheerleading practice. The few people who might remember my brother Graham certainly won't connect him to gorgeous Rosalina." Rebecca checked her watch. "The car will be here in 5 minutes. Ready?" The ride to the hotel where the reunion was being held passed in a blur of last-minute coaching. "Smaller steps, remember? And don't forget to cross your legs when you sit down. Oh, and if anyone gets too nosy about where you went to school, just say you studied abroad in France. Nobody will question it." Rosalina nodded, heart pounding as the car pulled up to the venue. This was just one night, a ridiculous bet to settle. Then everything would go back to normal. The ballroom was decorated with blue and silver balloons, the school colors, and a banner proclaiming, "Welcome back, class of 2010. Music from the late 2000s played as former classmates clustered in groups, exclaiming over how much or how little others had changed. Rebecca squeezed Rosalina's arm. "Showtime, sis. Remember, confidence is key." Taking a deep breath, Rosalina stepped into the room, consciously keeping her stride smaller, hips swaying slightly as Rebecca had coached. Several heads turned as they made their entrance. "Rebecca Mitchell, is that you?" A blonde woman in a red dress rushed over, pulling Rebecca into a hug. "Oh my God, you look amazing!" "Heather, so do you!" Rebecca embraced her old friend, then gestured to Rosalina. "This is my sister, Rosalina." Heather's eyes widened appreciatively. "Sister? I thought you only had a brother. Graham, right?" "Half-sister, technically," Rebecca improvised smoothly. "Different mothers. Well, it's absolutely lovely to meet you." Heather's gaze swept over Rosalina appraisingly. That dress is stunning on you. The color really brings out your eyes. Thank you, Rosalina replied, surprised at how natural the higher pitch was beginning to feel. Rebecca helped me pick it out. Before long, Rosalina found herself surrounded by Rebecca's former classmates, all curious about the sister they'd never known existed. The initial terror gave way to something unexpected, a strange, exhilarating freedom. There was something liberating about being someone else for the night. As the evening progressed, Rosalina found herself relaxing into the role. She laughed at stories about Rebecca's high school antics, shared fabricated tales of studying art history in Paris, and even accepted an invitation to dance from the former quarterback, now a divorced insurance salesman. "You move so gracefully," he commented as they swayed to a slow song. "Your sister was always coordinated too, but you've got this presence." Rosalina smiled, feeling a strange flutter in her chest at the compliment. "Thank you. Dancing lessons," she improvised. During a trip to the ladies' room, another nerve-wracking experience that ultimately went without incident, Rosalina overheard two women talking at the sinks. "Rebecca's sister is so poised. Remember her brother? That skinny, awkward kid who used to pick her up sometimes? God, yes. Always hunched over like he was apologizing for existing. Total opposite of Rosalina. She owns the room." Rosalina froze, lipstick halfway to her mouth. They were comparing her to herself, and preferring this version. The conversation shifted to other topics as the women left, but their words lingered. Rosalina studied her reflection in the mirror. The auburn waves framed a face that, thanks to Rebecca's skilled makeup application, looked softer, more open. But more than the physical transformation was the way she carried herself. Shoulders back, chin lifted, meeting people's eyes instead of avoiding them. Was this what confidence felt like? Back in the ballroom, Rebecca was deep in conversation with former classmates when Rosalina rejoined her. "There she is!" Rebecca pulled her into the circle. "We were just talking about how you should have been here for the talent portion of the evening. Apparently, Frank still plays the accordion." "I'm afraid my talents aren't very performance-oriented," Rosalina replied with a laugh. "Oh, I don't believe that," said a woman in a blue pantsuit. "You strike me as someone who's good at everything she tries." The compliment warmed Rosalina through. How strange that these people saw strength and confidence where Graham had always felt insecurity and awkwardness. As midnight approached, the evening began winding down. Rebecca's former principal gave a speech about the passage of time and enduring friendships. Awards were distributed for most changed and least changed, and traveled farthest to be here. And our surprise award for person we wish had been in our class goes to Rebecca Mitchell's sister, Rosalina. The principal held up a small trophy. "For bringing style and sophistication to our humble reunion." The room erupted in applause. Stunned, Rosalina made her way to the front, accepting the token award with a gracious smile. "Speech!" someone called out. "I thank you all for the warm welcome," Rosalina began, finding her voice growing steadier as she continued. "It's been wonderful getting to know the people who made my sister's high school years so memorable. I feel like I've been given a glimpse into a world I missed out on, and I'm grateful for that." More applause followed as she returned to Rebecca's side. "You're a hit," Rebecca whispered. "Guess I really won that bet." "Guess you did," Rosalina agreed, but something was shifting inside her, a realization that felt both terrifying and inevitable. The ride home was quiet, both siblings lost in thought. It wasn't until they were back in Rebecca's apartment, Rosalina carefully removing the earrings, that she finally spoke what had been building all night. "I don't think I want to go back," she said quietly. Rebecca paused in removing her own jewelry. "Back where? To the reunion?" "Back to being Graham." The words hung in the air between them. "All night people saw me. Really saw me. In a way they never have before. The way I've never let myself be seen." Setting down her earrings, Rebecca moved to sit beside her sister on the edge of the bed. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Tears welled up, threatening to ruin the careful eyeliner. "I think I've always known something wasn't right. Like I was playing a role that didn't fit. Tonight, for the first time, everything clicked into place." A shaky breath. "I think I'm transgender, Becca. I think I'm a woman." Rebecca was quiet for a long moment, then squeezed Rosalina's hand. "I think maybe I've always known too. Why else would I have made that bet?" "You knew?" Rosalina looked up, surprised. "Not consciously, but there was always something. When we were kids, the way you looked at my clothes, my jewelry, how uncomfortable you were in your own skin." Rebecca smiled gently. "Maybe tonight wasn't about winning a bet. Maybe it was about giving you permission to be who you really are." Tears flowed freely now. "I'm terrified." "Of course you are, but you're not alone." Rebecca hugged her tightly. "And by the way, Rosalina suits you." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of revelations, research, and cautious first steps. Rosalina began seeing a therapist specializing in gender identity. She experimented with feminine clothing at home, building confidence before venturing out. Rebecca was beside her through it all, shopping for appropriate clothes, practicing makeup techniques, standing fierce guard against anyone who might not understand. 3 months after the reunion, Rosalina began hormone therapy. 6 months in, she legally changed her name. The auburn wig gave way to her own hair, growing out into the same warm shade that had first felt so right on that pivotal night. There were difficult moments. Telling their parents, who needed time but ultimately embraced their daughter. Facing old friends who sometimes struggled to understand. Navigating the complicated healthcare system. But through it all, Rosalina felt herself becoming more authentic, more present in her own life. On the 1-year anniversary of the reunion, Rebecca proposed a toast in their shared apartment. To the bet that changed everything. Rosalina clinked her glass against her sister's. "Best bet I ever lost." "Actually," Rebecca said with a thoughtful expression, "I've been thinking about that night a lot lately, about how much you shone, how people responded to you." "Where are you going with this?" Rosalina asked, eyebrow raised. "What would you think about going into business together? A boutique? Fashion was always my passion, and you've got an eye for what works. Plus, you could model our pieces." Rosalina nearly choked on her wine. "Me? A model? Why not? You're gorgeous, you know how to wear clothes, and you understand what makes a woman feel beautiful from a unique perspective." Rebecca leaned forward excitedly. "I've been saving for years to open my own place. With your business degree and my design background, we could make this work." The idea took root and blossomed. 6 months of planning, securing a small business loan, and finding the perfect location culminated in the grand opening of Mitchell Sisters Boutique in a trendy downtown district. Their small store specialized in clothing for all women, with a particular understanding of pieces that flattered different body types. Rebecca designed, Rosalina handled the business side, and both sisters worked the floor, building relationships with customers who quickly became regulars. For their first anniversary in business, they held a fashion show featuring local women of all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds, with Rosalina closing the show in a stunning emerald sheath dress that Rebecca had designed specifically for her. As she stood at the end of the makeshift runway, the applause washing over her, Rosalina caught Rebecca's eye in the crowd. Her sister gave her a thumbs up, mouthing, "You did it!" And she had. 3 years after a bet that had seemed so trivial at the time, Rosalina Mitchell was living authentically, building a successful business, and finally, truly comfortable in her own skin. The boutique thrived, building a reputation for personalized service and designs that made women feel beautiful. Rosalina developed a following on social media, where she shared not only fashion tips, but occasionally her own journey, helping others who might be walking a similar path. "You have a customer asking for you, specifically," Rebecca said one Wednesday afternoon, poking her head into the back office where Rosalina was updating their inventory spreadsheet. "Says she saw you modeling the ruby red cocktail dress online and needs it for an event this weekend." Rosalina saved her work and smoothed down her own outfit, a navy pencil skirt and cream blouse that had become something of a uniform on days she handled the business side of things. "I'll be right out." The customer turned out to be a nervous young woman in her early 20s, clutching her purse tightly as she browsed the racks. Rosalina approached with a warm smile. "Hi there, I'm Rosalina. My sister mentioned you were interested in the ruby dress from our new collection." The woman looked up, relief washing over her face. "Yes, thank you. I have a work event, and I need something that makes me feel confident. When I saw you wearing it in your post, you looked so sure of yourself." Something in her demeanor struck Rosalina as familiar. The slight hunch of the shoulders, the way she seemed to be trying to take up less space. She'd seen it in her own mirror, years ago. "The red is a standout piece," Rosalina agreed, leading her to where the dress hung. "It's designed to make a statement. What size were you thinking?" The woman hesitated. "I'm not sure. I'm still learning what sizes work for me." Understanding dawned. Rosalina lowered her voice slightly. "Would you like to try a few options in the fitting room? I can bring you different sizes, and we can see what works best for your body type." The gratitude in the woman's eyes confirmed Rosalina's intuition. "Yes, please. That would be wonderful." In the private fitting room, Rosalina helped her find not only the right size, but also suggested accessories and shoes that would complete the look. Throughout the process, she shared small tips about posture, movement, and confidence that went beyond mere fashion advice. As the woman admired herself in the mirror, transformed by the perfect dress, she finally asked the question Rosalina had been expecting. "How did you know?" Rosalina smiled gently. "Because I remember what it feels like to be discovering yourself, to be learning how to be seen as who you truly are." Tears welled in the customer's eyes. "It's so hard sometimes, feeling like everyone's staring, judging." "It gets easier," Rosalina assured her. "And finding clothes that make you feel powerful helps. That's actually why my sister and I started this boutique, because every woman deserves to feel beautiful and confident, regardless of her journey." The young woman left with not only the red dress, but several other pieces. Rebecca's business card with an invitation to call anytime for style advice, and something less tangible, but infinitely more valuable, the knowledge that she wasn't alone. "Another convert to the Mitchell Sisters fan club?" Rebecca asked after the customer had gone, the bell above the door tinkling as she left. "Something like that," Rosalina hung up the rejected dresses. She reminded me of myself. Early in transition, needing a boost of confidence. Rebecca nodded thoughtfully. We're helping more people like her lately. Word must be getting around that we're a safe space. Is that okay? It wasn't exactly our business plan. Are you kidding? It's better than okay. It's exactly what we should be doing. Rebecca began straightening a display of scarves. Actually, I've been thinking we should make it more official. Maybe add a special section of clothing specifically designed for trans women. Pieces cut to flatter different body types. Make the transition process a little easier from a fashion perspective. Rosalina considered this. That could be really valuable, and not just for trans women. There are plenty of cisgender women with similar fit challenges. Exactly! Inclusive design benefits everyone! Rebecca's eyes lit up with the thrill of a new creative challenge. We could call it the Transformation Collection. Too on the nose! Rosalina laughed. But I like the direction. Let's work on it. That night, after closing the shop, the sisters stayed late sketching ideas and making plans. The boutique had already surpassed their initial business projections, and this new direction felt right, not just commercially, but personally. You know, Rebecca said, looking up from her design notebook, when I made that bet with you 3 years ago, I never imagined we'd end up here. Rosalina set down her coffee mug. Regrets? Are you kidding? This is better than anything I could have planned. Rebecca gestured around their shop. The carefully curated racks of clothing, the comfortable fitting rooms designed to make women feel at ease, the wall of photos showing satisfied customers of all kinds wearing Mitchell Sisters designs. We're building something that matters. We are, Rosalina agreed. And it all started with that teal dress and those ridiculous black heels you made me wear. Which you worked, by the way. The number of people who asked for your number that night. I was almost jealous. They laughed together. The easy camaraderie of siblings who had weathered tremendous change and emerged stronger for it. The next day brought a surprise visitor to the boutique. Heather, the friend from the reunion who had been the first to compliment Rosalina's dress that fateful night. Rebecca! Rosalina! Your shop is adorable! She embraced them both, then stepped back to look around appreciatively. When my cousin mentioned this place, I had no idea it was yours. She came in last week for a dress and hasn't stopped talking about the amazing service. Your cousin? Rebecca asked, trying to place who it might have been. Melanie, tall brunette. She said you helped her find a red dress that made her feel like a movie star. Rosalina and Rebecca exchanged a quick glance. The nervous young woman from yesterday. Of course, Melanie. She was wonderful to work with, Rosalina said smoothly. Heather lowered her voice slightly. She also mentioned that you were particularly understanding about her situation. I just wanted to thank you for that. She's had a rough time with some people in the family, and finding supportive spaces means everything. Everyone deserves to feel beautiful and accepted, Rebecca replied simply. Well, I'm here to shop for myself today, Heather declared, back to her usual ebullient self. I need something for a gallery opening next month. Something sophisticated but not stuffy. As Rebecca showed her through their latest collection, Rosalina found herself reflecting on the strange interconnectedness of life. The reunion that had changed her path had now, through a series of coincidences, brought someone else to their doorstep, seeking transformation of another kind. Later that afternoon, as Heather left with 3 new outfits and promises to bring friends back, Rebecca turned to Rosalina with a thoughtful expression. You know what this means, don't you? Our little ripple effect is growing. From that reunion to here, who knows how many lives we'll touch? Rosalina nodded, understanding completely. All because you bet me I couldn't pass as a woman for one night. Best bet I ever made, Rebecca declared, wrapping an arm around her sister's shoulders. And speaking of bets, I'm betting our new collection is going to be our most successful yet. No bet, Rosalina laughed. With your designs and my business sense, it's a sure thing. The boutique closed early that day. A rare midweek treat they allowed themselves occasionally. The sisters walked arm in arm down the street to their favorite cafe, already deep in conversation about their next fashion show. Rosalina, elegant in a deep emerald dress that had become her signature look for special occasions, drew admiring glances that she no longer noticed or needed for validation. She had found herself that night at the reunion, but she had built herself in the years that followed. Not just a new appearance, but a whole life authentic to who she had always been meant to be. With Rebecca beside her, with their growing business, with each customer who left their boutique feeling more confident and seen, Rosalina Mitchell continued to prove that sometimes losing a bet could be the greatest victory of all. As they settled at their favorite corner table, Rosalina raised her water glass in a mock toast. To bets, sisters, and finding yourself in a teal dress. Rebecca clinked her glass against her sister's. And to whatever comes next. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Two sisters who had discovered that helping others find their authentic selves was not just good business, but the most rewarding way to live. The auburn-haired woman in the emerald dress was a far cry from the hunched, uncertain Graham, who had reluctantly agreed to a ridiculous bet 3 years earlier. But that person had always been inside her, waiting for the chance to emerge, waiting for the courage to step out in a pair of black strappy heels and never look back.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!